North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has arrived in Russia for a summit with President Vladimir Putin. The two are likely to discuss an arms deal as Russia faces a Ukrainian counter-offensive. According to reports, Kim is accompanied by top government officials, including military personnel. Experts suggest that Putin is seeking artillery shells and anti-tank missiles from North Korea. That is for Moscow's war in Ukraine. While Kim is reportedly in search of advanced technology for satellite and nuclear-powered submarines, as well as food aid for his nation, Kim has not traveled outside the north since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. In response to this meeting, the White House has warned that Pyongyang would pay a price if it supplies Moscow with weaponry for its war in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin attended the plenary session of the Eastern Economic Forum. He was spotted alongside the Vice President. The Eastern Economic Forum is being held in the city of Vladivostok, that is in the Russian Far East region. India's Union Minister also left for Russia to represent India at the summit. The Biden administration has waived the sanctions to allow $6 billion in Iranian funds from South Korea to Qatar. As a part of the deal, the U.S. has agreed to release 5 Iranian citizens held in the United States of America. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken signed off on the sanction waivers late last week. The release of frozen funds drew criticism of U.S. President Joe Biden from Republicans. While it is perceived that the deal will also strengthen the Iranian economy at a time when Iran poses a growing threat to U.S. troops and West Asian allies. A passenger aircraft made an emergency landing in Russia. A Russian airline plane with 159 people aboard was flying from Sochi to Omsk and made an emergency landing in western Siberia's region there. Well, there were no immediate reports of injuries. The reason for the emergency landing remains unknown.
716 на приеме.
Ukrainian president and his allies have urged Ukrainians to keep their focus squarely on the war effort 18 months into Russia's invasion. This indicates that the authorities are gearing up for a long campaign. Zelensky has long called for greater focus on the war effort and also pledged to intensify a crackdown on corruption as a part of Ukraine's bid to join the European Union. While the campaign prompted the dismissal of Ukraine's defense minister last week. Zelensky has made EU and NATO membership the top foreign policy priorities. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden visited the 9/11 memorial at the Pentagon in Arlington to remember those who died in the September 11 terror attacks. On the other hand, U.S. President Joe Biden hailed the bravery of the Americans on the 22nd anniversary of the terror attacks in a visit to the joint base in Alaska. Well, Biden called on the Americans to never forget the attacks and to remember the courage and resolve of the American spirit in the aftermath of the attacks. Nearly 3,000 people died when Al-Qaeda hijackers flew planes into New York's World Trade Center towers and into the Pentagon, while a 4th plane crashed in Pennsylvania. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, who is mired in illegal troubles, is trying to seek some relief. Trump has asked the court to dismiss the charges that accuse him for his role in subverting the 2020 elections in the state. However, he has also indicated that he may ask the case to be moved to a federal court where the jury pool would be much broader. Meanwhile, Trump also wants disqualification of the U.S. judge hearing the federal election case. He filed a motion on Monday seeking the recusal of an Obama-appointed judge named Tanya Chutkan from presiding over the case, that is. Trump has frequently criticized Chutkan on his social media handle, where she was randomly assigned to preside over the case. An American caver trapped in Turkey's third deepest cave for more than a week has been pulled to safety. The 40-year-old person, who was on an exploration mission in Turkey's Moroccan cave when he began suffering from bleeding at a depth of about 1,000 meters. More than 150 rescuers from Turkey, Croatia, Italy and other countries worked for 9 days to rescue him. According to Turkish authorities, this was one of the most complicated rescue missions ever. Pennsylvania State Police now claims that the convicted murderer who escaped from the city's Eastern Facility prison a week ago might be potentially armed and dangerous. The 34-year-old convict escaped from Chester County Prison on August 31st, where he was awaiting transfer to a state prison to serve a life imprisonment for killing his ex-girlfriend. Police say that the fugitive stole a white Ford van and used it to travel 40 kilometers to the township of East Pickleland. The murderer is said to be of Brazilian descent. The U.S. immigration authorities have detained his sister and is set to face deportation. Mexico's former foreign minister has presented a formal complaint against the ruling party's primary process to pick a candidate for 2024 elections. Well, he denounced polls held by the ruling Morena party, which was won by former Mexico City mayor. He said that the poll was tainted by multiple irregularities, whereas Ebrard finished runner-up in the competition. A long-time ally of President López Obrador, Ebrard said that he would organize a national political movement starting this month. Well, he's widely viewed as an economic moderate who is willing to attract foreign investments in the country. Armenia and the US have commenced a joint military exercise named Eagle Partner 2023, scheduled to last for 10 days. The military exercise is designed to prepare Armenia and the US for participation in international peacekeeping mission. The army drills are aimed at increasing the readiness of the Armenian unit for the NATO-led Partnership for Peace program and evaluation of the operational capabilities concept. Though small in scale, the drill has angered Russia, which has a military base in Armenia and regards itself as the prime security guarantor in the region. A total of 175 soldiers from Armenia and 85 from the US are engaged in the exercise. A new United Nations report has revealed a potential 24% rise in cocaine production in 2022 in Colombia, eclipsing a 20-year high. The study also shows that cocoa crops covered 568,000 acres in 2022, an increase of 13% from the previous year. Now, this ingredient is the chief in cocaine that by large has fueled the country's 6-decade armed conflict with the groups in the country. Thousands of North Macedonians are staging a protest. They allege that the patients at a cancer hospital missed life-saving treatment because the staff was stealing expensive drugs to sell on the black market. The protesters marched through the streets of the capital city from the government headquarters to the public prosecutor's office. While the demonstrators demanded the resignation of the country's health minister and the hospital management. The government and the hospital officials have sought to assure the public that cancer patients are not at risk. While the prosecutors have launched a probe into the claims, no arrests were made and no charges have been pressed so far. Indian President Draupadi Murmu hosted a state dinner for Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at the presidential palace in New Delhi on Monday. Welcoming the Crown Prince, President Murmu said that Saudi Arabia is one of India's most important strategic partners. President Murmu expressed confidence that the Crown Prince's participation in the G20 summit would further strengthen the multifaceted partnership between India and Saudi Arabia. Now, during the Crown Prince's visit, India and Saudi Arabia signed 50 initial pacts in various fields. The countries also agreed to form a joint task force for $100 billion in Saudi investment in India. Moroccan rescuers supported by foreign teams faced an intensifying race against time. They have been trying to dig out the survivors from the rubble after the country's strongest ever earthquake. The magnitude 6.8 quake struck the Atlas Mountains late on Friday, killing at more than 2,800 people. Meanwhile, more than 2,500 others were left injured. With much of the quake zone in hard-to-reach areas, the authorities have not issued any estimates for the number of people missing. Morocco has accepted offers of aid from Spain, UK and other countries, and both the countries have sent search and rescue specialists with sniffer dogs from the United Arab Emirates and Qatar. Hurricane Lee has re-strengthened as it churns west-northwest in the tropical Atlantic Ocean. It is expected to bring dangerous surf and rip currents to the U.S. East Coast from Sunday night. Hurricane Lee is now a Category 3 storm with 115 miles per hour sustained winds, while the storm about 455 kilometers northwest of the northern Leeward Islands. It will pass north of Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands and other Caribbean islands. One of the volcanoes in Hawaii's Big Island began erupting on Sunday after a 2-month pause, with flows currently confined to the surrounding crater floor. According to the United States Geological Survey, the eruption was preceded by a period of strong seismicity and rapid uplift. Located in the closed area of Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, it is one of the world's most active volcanoes. The volcano erupted in January and June of this year as well. Nearly 2,000 people are feared dead in the devastating floods caused by Storm Daniel in Libya. The floods have washed away neighborhoods and also wrecked homes in various coastal towns in the east of the North African nation. Well, the greatest destruction was reported in Derna, a city that was previously held by Islamic extremists in the chaos that Libya was into for over a decade. This has led the city with inadequate infrastructure to combat the floods. Well, videos of Derna showed a wide torrent running through the city centre where a far narrow waterway had previously flowed with ruined buildings standing on either of the side. Bengaluru Airport's Terminal 2, known as a terminal in a garden, which was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in November 2022, started its international operations earlier today. The first international flight from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, landed at the new terminal with 212 passengers. Well, in a bid to achieve its net zero carbon emission goals, India's Road Transport Ministry said that it plans to propose imposing an additional 10% tax on diesel engine vehicles. The ministry added that it will make this proposal to the finance minister soon. The Indian government said that the share of diesel vehicles on roads had decreased from 33% in 2014 to 28% now. The Japanese yen steadied near a one-week high as comments from Japan's top central banker on a possible end to its negative interest rate policy reverberated throughout the markets. While the dollar regained some lost ground, the yen has come under immense pressure against the dollar as a result of growing interest rate